Peace. I pray that all is well. If you see that I'm in the same clothing as I am in a previous video, it's because I'm recording these back to back, to back to back to back, to back to back, to back to back. All right. So we're going back to back on these, and I'm having a lot of fun, man. I'm having a lot of fun recording these videos, and I got a few things to share. I definitely do have a few things to share now. So this video is going to be a little bit more kind of on a personal sense, whereas the others are more inspirational, um, they're more in terms of life, work, and doing things for yourself and self-improvement. Those other videos, but this video is going to be more so kind of my own experience with something. And what it's been is the past week, I have been eating only one meal a day, right? And so this is kind of like, I've eaten only one meal a day for 1 week. This is what happened. These are the results, right? And I can surely say that I definitely thought before when I heard about this, and when I heard about this, that eating one meal a day was kind of absurd. I thought maybe that's just something you can't do, but that's just not the truth. When you eat one meal, we can eat one meal a day, and that's something I've learned because I started doing it, right? Now, I haven't done the version where it's, you eat one meal a day with nothing, absolutely nothing in between. So I've had tea in between, right? Or coffee in between. And so this is the only other kind of sustenance in between that I've had other than water. But so I've only been eating one meal, but in between those time periods I've had tea and coffee, but no other food, right? So what I've kind of learned with eating one meal a day is that, well, I guess I'll go back to the reason why I started it, right? So the reason why I started it was I came up with this new daily routine. I took away all the timestamps, and I talk about this in another video. I took away all the timestamps and just said, in the morning time I must do this. And at noon I must do this. In the evening I must do this, right? And so I've came up with certain things where in this time period, in this time frame, I have to get such and such done. But I'm not saying 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, right? Because that can be kind of restricting. And that's how I started off doing scheduling and stuff. But I find right now that this works for me, what I'm doing right now. And I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? And so breakfast was around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Lunch was around 12:30, 1 o'clock. Between 12 and like 2. And dinner was anytime between 5 and 7, right? And you don't eat no later than 8. After 8, no more food. I was following this regimen, but I noticed that at each period of eating, really, I would wake up in the morning and I'd be ready for my breakfast in the morning. And then come lunchtime, I wouldn't be hungry, but I would eat lunch because it's time to eat lunch. Then come dinner time, I really wouldn't feel too hungry, but I would eat dinner because it was time to eat dinner. And I realized that I kept filling myself up with food, and I kept feeling, I started to feel very weighed down and heavy a lot of times throughout the day. And so I remember reading this book called How to Eat to Live by Elijah Muhammad. Now, disclaimer, I'm not in the Nation of Islam, and I don't do anything or prescribe to anything that the Nation of Islam teaches. But I did pick up that book because it was interesting. And one of the things that it stresses is eating one meal a day. And so I said, well, I'll try it out. So I tried it out, eating one meal a day. And because of my own personal reasons, though, not because this book said so, right? Because my own personal reasons, where I was feeling heavy and I was feeling like I was just eating just to eat and not because I actually wanted food, I said, okay, I'll eat once a day. The best time for me that I chose to eat was my dinner time, which is about 6 or 7 in the evening. between 6 and 8, really between like 5 and 8, because one of the days out of the week, I would have to eat early. So between like 5 and 8, I need to, in that day, I got to sit down and have my one meal. And I've realized that having one meal a day is possible, is the first thing. And one of the things that I've noticed is that my thinking has been clearer, right? I feel a lot more direct. I feel a lot more diligent in my work. I feel like a lot more disciplined in certain things that I'm doing. I feel like I'm able to put myself into work for longer periods of time, and in my study and stuff and things of that nature. Whereas, when you're eating, you always, it's like you always feel draggy or distracted, right? And I this week, actually today, I just changed it up, and so I had a smoothie right now during the lunchtime. Instead of eating an actual, a meal, I made a smoothie. And even now I can feel with this smoothie, I feel a little bit sluggish, you know, in the body, and a little bit sluggish in my mind and my thoughts, because food really does affect, especially carbs and stuff, it really does affect your mental state, your thinking process. It kind of blurs it's not clear, you know. And so I realized, eating only dinner, right, has allowed me throughout the whole day to have a lot clearer mindset. And I feel lighter, and throughout the day, during the fast, throughout the day, you have those feelings where your stomach starts to growl, and it feels kind of tight and kind of light, and you don't know what you're feeling. And so, I remember growing up learning that when your stomach growls, that means you're hungry. But when I was one of these days, one of the days this past week, the other day, while I was doing this fast, it started getting real difficult. My stomach was growling real hard, and I was thinking, man, I just want to eat. But really what happened was I started looking into it. I was thinking about how a YouTuber, his name is Mohammed. He does a lot of self-help, drop shipping. Praise Allah for that, brother. Online businesses and stuff. And I remember him talking about how your gut has to be healthy. When you have a healthy gut, you can think a lot clearer. And the only way for your gut to be cleaned is through fasting. And so I was thinking about that while I'm fasting, my gut is cleaning, but then my stomach is making this noise, it's growling. So I said, well, do I think that my gut is going to clean itself and not make a noise? So I start doing a little bit of research, and I found some things where when your stomach is growling, that means that it's cleaning itself. It doesn't mean that you're hungry. It means that now it finally has the chance to clean itself. It doesn't mean you're hungry, right? It's just cleaning itself. But I don't know who told me this when I was growing up, that when your stomach growls, it means you're hungry. So now, I think about it. I think back on it. When our stomach growls, because we've been fasting or we haven't eaten for a while, and our stomach starts growling, someone says, "Oh, I'm hungry. Let me go put food in my stomach." But your gut was trying to clean itself, and then you turn around and just threw more food on top of it. You got to wait and let it clean itself. And so this isn't definite, but this is what I've been thinking now because of all of this, is that when really the right time, we're not supposed to be eating when our stomach is growling, because that means that it's cleaning. We really should wait for it to do all this growling, wait for it to do all this cleaning, and then when it's no longer growling, then at that moment we feed it, right? Because it said, okay, I've done my cleaning, right? And so that's another thing, is just that I've been learning that the hunger is like a hormone. Hunger is a hormone from my understanding. And so it gets used to the time periods that you eat, the time periods that we eat, right? It gets used to the time periods, and so your hunger spikes during those time periods, but you just wait it out. And now that I think about it, it could be because, hunger, I say your hunger spikes, but I just said that when your stomach growls, it's not actually your hunger. Ah, are you serious? So again, I have to. I did this in another video where my video got cut off midway, and I come back with completely different clothes, and it's funny because that video, the end of that clip, I was wearing the same thing. I recorded the end of that clip and the beginning of this clip in the same day. It is funny just because now I had to come back and fix this. They both got cut out. But anyways, I was just talking about how hunger is more so a hormone that spikes throughout the day, and it's something that you can ignore. You don't have to listen to, right? You can ignore it. It's just a hormone. It spikes at the time of day that you're used to eating, right? So something I've been meditating on and thinking about and things is when you feel your stomach growling, and I believe I mentioned this earlier in the last, and earlier in this video, when you feel your stomach growling, when you hear your stomach growling, it's actually cleansing itself, and it does not want food right now. It actually does not. You're not supposed to put food into it. You're not hungry when your stomach is growling. What it is that your stomach is cleansing itself. Your gut is cleansing itself of all the toxins and everything. And so when you put food right back on top of it, when it starts growling, you're making it work all extra hard. It finally had a moment to start cleansing itself, and you put food right back on top of it. So something else I've noticed with fasting and with eating only once a day throughout the week. I know in that video. So at the beginning of this video, that day that I recorded this part, because this is now it's another day. Anyways, that day I had a smoothie before recording, right? I decided I'm only eating one meal a day, but I said at lunchtime I'm gonna have a smoothie. So I had a smoothie before recording that video, and I was noticeably more shaken up in the mind, right? I wasn't as clear with my thoughts. I wasn't really speaking as coherently. I kept saying you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I just made a video about that. The video I made about communication, it cut off midway. And so when I recorded the beginning of this video, I finished that one first because, anyways. But it was the same day where I had the smoothie. And so I was just talking about in the communication video, not saying, like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But then I had that smoothie, and then I turn around and start doing the exact same thing. So it's real, like that's something that I've noticed. That's something that I have also noticed with the fast is that I find that once you start consuming, what you start eating, and from what I believe in my studies so far, mainly carbs and sugars. Once you start intaking mainly carbs and like the heavily processed sugar, man, you're stupid. It's like you're stupid. Your mind is just moving extra slow, and your thoughts are not clear, and your words are not clear, and you're not expressing yourself with clearness and with power. And so if there's one other thing that I would add on talking about fasting is that when you eat one meal a day, and I would say you make that meal like towards the end of the day. Like what I have right now, I eat my one meal at about 7 p.m., 6 or 7 p.m., right? Kind of like the dinner meal. And then I find that, because you have to do most of your talking and most of your stuff throughout the day, then you come and you have that dinner meal at the end of the day. So it's done all this processing. Your brain can settle down. You can eat at 7, digest, have those few hours before bed, few hours of digestion before bed. You're supposed to get about 2 to 3 hours between your last meal and when you go to bed. At least 2 to 3 hours, at least 2 hours. Pretty sure it's like 2 to 4. Anyways, so you eat at nighttime, eat around 7, 8 for me at least. Eat around 6, 7 within the time frame of 5 to 8, right? It's around the time frame where I'm eating my one meal a day. And so you wake up and your brain is able to do everything that it needs to do when you're not, because when you eat now you feel sluggish, you feel slow, you feel like you don't, your mind is not clear, you're not really thinking, you're not able to really, you're not able to really do your work deeply, you're not able to get into to deep work, you're not able to get into the zone. So when you fast and when you do these things, when you wait the whole day to eat and then eat at the end after you've done everything for the day, right? Then I find for me that I can get my work done better, right? I feel like I'm expressing myself better. I feel like I'm speaking better. I feel like just the day feels better, right? And you allow your stomach, your gut, that time to cleanse itself, and you just remind yourself that the feeling of, the feeling of your stomach growling, and the sound and the feeling and everything like that is just your stomach is cleansing itself. It's saying, finally, I'm not being stuffed with food. I'm able to clean. I'm able to cleanse myself. So that is the end of this. This is what I've learned in this week, this past week of doing one meal a day. And it's definitely been a good week, a good bit of fasting. And when you fast, the trials and temptations come, right? So everything else, like, people get hangry. You get mad because you're hungry. And so the all of these other feelings and emotions, it's like the devil comes out even more when you fast, and when you're restraining yourself from eating, right? So, and I've realized that food is an addiction. We are addicted to food. We just gotta have it, right? It's an addiction. We just gotta have it. And when you eat certain ingredients, certain things like salt and sugar and all of this, spike your addiction and make you want to keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. And the sugars, they numb they numb that part of you that tells you that you're full. And so you continue to ignore that you're actually full, right? Because all the processed sugar. And then you're just continuing to stuff yourself, and it's not healthy. So something that has just been learning recently is just taking back control of our health, taking back control of my health, eating at least just once a day. And that's how I've been doing it for the past week, and it's been working for me that way. And who knows, maybe I might incorporate some kind of eating later down the line. But right now, I'm kind of enjoying this. It's a good break. I was feeling heavy, right? So really, just what I do is just wake up and make some tea or make some coffee in the morning, right? And I've been drinking a glass of milk. I've seen a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad was saying that milk is allotted to you. Milk is good for you because it contains nutrients from all kinds of plants, right? Because the cow eats plants and chews the cud, and so it was saying that the milk is good for you in that regard. And I saw another translation of a hadith that said it cures all diseases. I don't know how true it is, but anyway, so I've started getting back into milk because I know for a while before I came into the fold of Islam, I was in the whole spiritual, not religious side of things. And a lot of them, they talk about, milk is disgusting. Milk gives you diseases. Milk makes your sinuses go off. Milk is terrible for you and all this and all that. And I believed in that for the longest amount of time. It made sense, right? Around the time where everyone is drinking and eating milk-based things, donuts and sugary things around the holidays, Christmas and all of that stuff, all of this milk stuff. People are getting sick. People are getting, but I'm believe I'm starting to realize that it's not the milk, it's the sugar. So, anyways, that's kind of the end of that. So, I have my tea, I have my milk, and then throughout the day, I may have another glass of tea or another cup of coffee, and then, around dinner time is I have my meal. And I find that that's really all I need. I eat that meal and I feel full, and I feel like I don't need anything else after that, right? So, anyways, I appreciate everyone coming to this video. If you like the idea of eating only one meal a day and you think maybe you can't do it, I would say try it. If you feel like you're eating so much and you just feel full, or if you even just throughout the day, maybe you haven't associated it to eating yet, but just throughout the day you feel like your thoughts are not clear, you feel like you're not doing things to the best of your ability, you feel sluggish in your action, you feel sluggish in the way that you speak, you feel like you're not speaking clearly, right? If you feel like you can't express yourself clearly and you keep saying maybe you need to take a fast. Maybe you need to stop eating. Maybe you need to take a fast and stop eating. Try it. Eat only once a day. Uh, for what works for you, right? There's some that eat only once a day with absolutely nothing in between. No water, no tea, no none of that. What I do is I eat only one meal a day, but I drink water throughout the day. I drink tea or coffee. I'll have maybe 2 glasses, right? 2 cups throughout the day. And then a glass of milk in the morning. And that's kind of what I've been doing, and I find that really works for me in my awareness. That really works for me in my consciousness, in my mind, in the way that I think. So I would say, maybe try it out and may work for you as well. I appreciate you coming here. Peace.